Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's blog post. We're dealing with, again, lots of different pressures in the housing market. We're seeing still really strong activity, depending upon where you are in the country. We're seeing properties come on the market and disappear off the market. We're having record sales numbers and, you know, shortened times. We're seeing, I got some clients out in Arizona, and their average days on market are 4 days on the market. National average is somewhere around 14. Clearly, good houses that are priced properly are available and coming on the market, but you're going to have to be right there and ready to go with your best offer in order to make them happen, because that's just the way the market is right now. And I know everybody likes to throw around the word inventory, and we've talked about this a lot before. I think more importantly, it's the pace of activity. It's getting people aware of what it really looks like now. It may still take you 90 to 120, 180 days to get a house, but it's going to be getting that house. You may be making 5, 6, or 7 offers on property versus 1 or 2, and then negotiating on them for a couple of weeks. The market is different. We have to stay in pace with that. But I think one of the things that we can also do to get our minds focused in something that is more important and maybe more enjoyable is coming up with a strategy, looking at what opportunities may be available. And I think right now, huge opportunities, and I think as big as there's ever been in the investor arena. Investment properties, people who have properties that are rentals or second homes right now, may be something we want to look at ourselves in our own databases with our own clients, as well as the realtors that we work with, financial planners, accountants, attorneys, all really important people. And let's go through some of the reasons I believe that to be true. We've dealt with coronavirus. And the fact that the government has prohibited people from evicting tenants for non-payment of rent has meant that many of these investors are dealing with no cash flow, no rent for those units, now going on potentially the better part of a year. And some may continue well beyond that as they've extended that again. So I think it's really important to pay attention to the fact that this may be something that an investor could take to heart and say, you know what, maybe I think about now being the time that I just, get rid of these rental properties and decide that maybe, it's time to do what I need to do to convert them back into a single family residence or spruce them up for sale and put them into the market and be done with it. Colleges and universities right now are largely empty, leaving that student housing that many of my loan officers around the country are aware of. Many investors buy properties around universities and use them for student housing. Again, if the students aren't going to school, then they're not renting those units. If they're not renting those units, there is no cash flow. It might be time for people to consider whether or not that is something that they want to do. Convert those properties back to single family residences and sell them. Again, with the buyer demand that's out there and the increase in housing prices, it's a really great idea to at least put that forward to somebody who has investment properties. Property values in all the markets in this country are strong. I've got some people who are seeing huge increases in the last 2, 3, 4 years. There may be a lot of those investors who bought those properties 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago and really have no understanding of what those homes would really bring in today's market. It's at least a conversation to have. And I think it's important to have those conversations simply because we're seeing people who are investors who have properties, then sell those properties and buy other investment properties. We're seeing the changes in investor rates. We're seeing the changes in second home rates. The cost of financing those properties is going up. And for some people, the cost of financing those properties going up may be all the motivation they need to finally get out of the investor game and decide it's not worth having those houses and potentially do something different with their money. Again, it's really important to pay attention to what's going on because investors are generally longer term people. They're not flippers. And I don't want you confusing the two. Now, there may be room for flippers to go in there and buy investor properties and reconvert them back to residential properties and sell them. That may be something the flippers could do. And if you're working with both groups of people, there may be a connection there. But the point that I'm trying to make is the fact that look at these things as opportunities of a group of people who are disadvantaged in this market, which are the investors, many of whom are not seeing their money because people aren't paying their rent. Or last but not least, changes in the tax code. There's lots of talk about changing and raising capital gains taxes or looking at that passive income as ordinary income. Changes to the way those things work can make those investments a lot less attractive to investors. When you look at that and start taking away some of the advantages, if you raised the tax rates on the money on those properties by 5 or 10 or whatever percent, does that no longer become as an attractive an investment as something else? Again, a conversation that we can have with investors, a conversation that we need to have with our real estate partners, a conversation to speak to our accountants and financial planners who are talking to their people right now. Again, getting buried by non-payment of rent, getting buried by the potential changes in the tax code. Wouldn't it be a great time for you to do some videos, do a Zoom call with your realtor or with your accountants and your financial planner and have these conversations about A, what's already happening, and B, what potentially will happen and what's been talked about in the next tax bill. It's really important for you to look at this because let's be honest, it's really easy to complain about the market and the lack of inventory, even though we're having record sales. But why wouldn't you create useful strategies looking at the situation, the old expression, if you're getting lemons, make lemonade. Right now, disadvantaged people out there are, believe it or not, investors, rental properties, second homes. In some markets, it's a bigger opportunity than others, but in all markets, there's a certain amount of rental properties that are available where it's at least worth having the conversation or making your clients and your referral partners aware, because it is an opportunity and it's at least a conversation that you can have to show that you're thinking about strategies that generate opportunities. Again, doing something today that'll help improve your tomorrow. I hope this information was helpful. I'd love to talk to you about it more. If you have any questions or comments, Mike, imtcoaching.com. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.